Shedeur Sanders, Steve. Is this something or nothing? He got busted at 12:40 a.m. driving 101 miles per hour, I believe, in a 60-mile per hour zone. It's kind of funny. Zach Edey, the center, the 7'4" center for the Memphis Grizzlies, got busted for the same thing. But of course, there's more attention on Shedeur Sanders because he's Deion's boy. Is this a red flag for Shedeur Sanders?
And here, this whole time, I've been questioning Shedeur's speed and mobility. Wow, okay. Look, I don't think it's a big deal. Young men of a lot of means economically and privilege driving way too fast is not a new thing. Thankfully, nothing happened. And, look, he's got to concentrate here. But let's be honest. If it was any other rookie fifth-round quarterback, we would not care. So I think some of the attention's a little bit overblown. And again, I'm going to repeat myself. Young athletes with fast cars going all Tracy Chapman, I don't think it's that big of a deal.
Yeah, I got to just be transparent and honest. When I was I think I was 28 when I got my first Mercedes-Benz. And I used to drive back and forth from Columbia, Missouri for University of Missouri athletic events back to Kansas City. And I think I got stopped going 110 miles per hour. And you could have got arrested on the spot. The cop did me a favor, didn't arrest me, but it did make a slight bit of news that I got busted driving 110 miles per hour. And I think I was 28 years old, so older than Shedeur Sanders. I'm not saying that to justify it. Young people, young men, that is very, very dangerous. You don't really hear about women doing this type of stupidity. It's generally speaking young men or older men that love to speed. It is dangerous, but I can't wag a finger at Shedeur Sanders because a lot of us have done it, including the 7'4" second-year player for the Memphis Grizzlies that no one cares about. But here's what I will say. When you're Deion and you turn your son into clickbait, when you film everything through well-off media and turn your son and your whole name into a brand to be exploited on social media, this is what goes along with it. You make the mistakes that other young people make, and it becomes a big deal because there's social media traction off of it. It goes back to what I said at the beginning. Most people, smart people, want the money, not the fame. And if you're committed to making money off of fame rather than off of what you actually are and produce, this is the downside of that.
No, there's no doubt. And look, I've heard that being famous is fun for about 15 minutes to hour a day. Okay, but we live now in a fishbowl existence, many celebrities, especially if you have your own social media company, well-off media like you talked about. But we have to be honest about this. There are many times when I'm coming home from Vegas, it's about a 4-hour drive, go down to the 15, to the 10, or the 60. And there are times in that barren stretch of desert, even I'm not exactly speed racer, I find myself pressing the gas pedal. There's no speed traps. And there's been times I've gone over 100. And I'm like, oh, boy, hold on. I'm an Asian driver. Got to know our limits here. Let's pull this back down to 75 here. Okay, so we've all done it. There's a lot of things maybe we can criticize Shedeur Sanders for. I don't think this is one of them because, let's be honest, many of us would be hypocritical at that point.
I want to stick on this for a little bit longer in a slightly different angle. And what has always baffled me about athletes, particularly professional athletes, wealthy athletes, I've seen it a million times. And I'm different in this regard. I'm telling you, I've always been like, hey, give me the money. I don't need the fame. Anything that I want from being famous, I'll get with money. And so, like, I'll go to a restaurant and there'll be a long line. And or when I used to go out to Vegas and go to nightclubs or whatever, I'll see a long line, and I would just reach into my pocket and say, "Hey, let me fix this problem. Let me offer someone $100, $200 to let me cut in line and let me in." And I've been with athletes and like, that's crazy, man. We're famous. They should just let us in and let's use fame to cut this line. And I've just never been for that. These guys they got all the money in the world. They're just addicted to fame and using their fame to get things. And I'm just like, no, I'd rather give someone $100.
Yeah.
That way they haven't done me a favor. Because once someone does you a favor, you now owe them something. And so I'd rather just like, nope, you didn't do me a favor. I gave you $100.
Right.
I cut in line. I'm good.
And you've made that very transactional, and I think that's the most honest way to do it. We have to be honest about this. Most relationships in life are transactional by nature, and I think it clears up a lot of the gray area. And you talk about fame. Fame can be a prison. It can be a life sentence. I read a lot of books about Michael Jordan, and Jordan, I believe, probably enjoyed the fame till about age 22, 23. And then after a while, when you couldn't go to the movies as a regular person, couldn't go to the store, couldn't go to a ball game and just enjoy a few innings, I would bet a lot of money that right now at this stage for the last 35, 40 years, Michael Jordan would have much rather have been rich and wealthy than famous.
Last thing on this point, one of the reasons in 2010 that I moved from Kansas City to LA is because in Kansas City, my level of notoriety was a problem. I can remember I got berated one day. We had these casinos. They had these casinos. Back then they were casino boats or whatever. And I was in one of them. And some guy started berating me because I wouldn't make small talk with him at the blackjack table. And he started telling me, "You're a public figure, it's your job to blah, blah, blah." And I'm like, "Nah, man, I just want to sit out here and play some blackjack. I'm with this girl and I just want to talk to her and play blackjack. I don't feel like I owe you this conversation." And that was part of the thing I loved about being out in LA is because unless you're Tom Cruise or Denzel Washington or someone like really, really famous, they just don't care in LA. People just don't care. They're so used to it, they just don't care.
Jason, this is why you always got to have, and again, I'm not about the earpieces on my phone. I still buy the earbuds with the wire. This way, you could just walk through, and if someone calls you and you have no use for them, you can pretend like you don't hear them. Right? And then if people come up to you, you could just kind of like read something and always have a magazine too, because that's also another thing. So then if people are trying to talk to you, you're like, "Hey, I'm kind of into this." Or I got Anita Baker in my ear. I'd rather mother listen to her than you. Also, another thing, there's another thing you should do. There should be a service where you can, let's say you're going out somewhere, you can rent young kids or toddlers. So this way, if someone wants to talk to you, you can say, "I'd like to, but I'm with the kids. I'm with the kids right now, kind of family time." Straight out of the Larry David book, right? So if you have a relative, hey, you mind if I borrow your kids? Yeah, I'm going to the movies for a few hours. Yeah. All right, I'll pick them up. Bang, there you go, right there, Jason. Life hack.
Like what you saw? Hit that like button, subscribe, and check out the full episode by clicking the link below.